Hello class, today we are going to go over 1.3 distance and midpoint formula. This is Mr. Nguyen and I'll be teaching you this section today. So let's start off with the distance formula. So you see here that I have this number line and I have the red dots on -4 and 2. And we want to find the distance from -4 to 2 with the number line. You can see that all I get to do is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So we know the distance from -4 to 2 is 6. But how do we do that through math? Well, you can just subtract where the number where you see is 2 minus -4, which will be 2 plus 4, which is 6. And that's the same thing. So now we know that to find the distance from one number to another, you just subtract the first to the second. So you want to find from 4 to 2 or 2 to 4, you just do 2 minus -4 and you get that. So now we are given find the distance from -2 and through -2 to 2 and 3. And you're like, how do I do that? Well, here is a little formula for you to write down. It's D equals the square root of x2 minus x1. What I mean by x2, here I'll write right here. This is x1 and this is x2. This will be y1 and y2. So that's what I'm gonna label it as. So we see x2 minus x1 parentheses squared plus parentheses y2 minus y, or y2 minus y1. Sorry, there's a miscalculation or a mistake there. And yeah, that's our formula. We're gonna use this graph to at least label where -2 is. So you see -2, -2. So right there. And then we have 2 to 3, which is right here. And we will want to connect and see the distance from there. So let's start off by plugging in the formula. So we see it's D equals the square root of, and I labeled x2 as 2. And then we minus x1 is -2. So we put -2. And then we square, extend that. And then add parentheses y2, which is 3 minus -2 squared. All right, and from there, we just do some algebra. So let's see, inside the square root, we see that to get rid of the negative, we have to do that. So it'll just be 2 plus 2. To get rid of the negative, we do that, and it'll just be 3 plus 2. So 2 plus 2 is 4 squared plus 3 plus 2 is 5 squared. Sorry, my 5 looks bad. And then you do the square, which is D equals square root of 16 plus 25. And then after that, we add it together, and you should get square root of 41. If you want, you can go back to the video to see how I did it again. Write some notes down. If I was going too fast, please pause the video. And here are some rule of thumb right here. This is what I want you to write down as well. Here's are some steps that I would like you to take. So first, label what x1, y1 is, and x2, y2. As you see, as I did right here. I labeled them. And I guess you could do it in the graph too. Let me show you on the graph. -2, -2, x1, y1. And then you can do it here too. So it makes it a little easier so you can see it on the graph as well, just as a reminder. And then you plug into the formula just like I did. You see how I wrote the formula down first. Then I plugged in the points to the formula. And then final thing is to solve. And that's also what I did right here, where I solved the 2 minus -2, which is 2 plus 2, which is 4 squared, you know, etc., etc. And then the answer is here. If you want, you could box the answer, circle it, do whatever you please. Now let's go to the next one, which is the midpoint formula. So the midpoint formula is a little different from the distance formula. You're trying to find what's in the middle, if you see. So you see how it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. My bad, 7. You want to know which one's in the middle. So we have 7. 7's an odd number, so it should be the 4th number. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So we know that our middle number, the middle, is -1. That's one way to do it if you had the line graph. But what if you don't have that line and you want to do it through algebraically? Well, there's another way we could do it. So you get those two numbers, you add it together, and then you take the average, so you divide by 2. And that would get us to -2 over 2, which will equal -1, which is the same thing that we got earlier. Here's some rule right here, add and divide by 2, just like I put earlier. Now, here we're given, find the average, -2, -2, and 2 and 3, the same as the distance formula, but instead of finding the distance, we're finding the average. When you find the average, you're not trying to find one number, you're trying to find a point, like that. And there's the formula there. And let's do it right here. So let's do it again where we graph it. We get -2, -2, and I want to label it as x1, y1. And for here we get 2 and 3, which is 2 and 3. This will be our x2, y2. Now that we have that, here's how we solve it. We just find the averages, the average of the x's and then the average of the y's. And here I'll start by plugging it in. I labeled it, now I'll plug it into the formula. I said our x1 was -2 plus our x2, which is 2, divided by 2, comma. Our y1 is -2 plus y2, which is 3, and we divide by 2. Now that we have that, all we gotta do is some straight algebra. -2 plus 2 is 0 over 2. And -2 plus 3 is positive 1 over 2. And now that we get that, we see we can simplify, and we know it's 0 and 1/2. And that should be how you do the midpoint formula. Let me show you. Put m equals mid. And you don't need the m. You could leave it like that, actually. Just know that it's the midpoint formula. Or you could just put like midpoint equals something like that to display that you showed the midpoint. And here's some rule that I would like you to remember when solving the midpoint. It's basically the same as the distance formula. You label what x1, y1, and x2, y2 is, as I did in the graph right there, just to reiterate. Then you plug into the formula. So I did it right there. I got the formula, plugged it in, and then I solved, which I did right there. Just did some algebra, and I got 0 and 1/2. So if you have any questions, please let me know. We will go over it the next time we meet. And Mr. Nguyen signing out.